Hello and welcome back. This is Cindra Kirscher of Livestock Conservancy and Shave 'em to Save 'em, joining you live on Facebook today to talk about our upcoming SE2SE, otherwise known as Shave 'em to Save 'em, Fiber Challenge with Margaret Radcliffe. I'm going to bring Margaret Radcliffe onto the screen here to join me. Hi, Margaret.
Hi, how are you, Cindra?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I am just fine. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here too, and I'm super excited for this challenge. So I'm going to let you let the cat out of the bag. What are we going to... So sorry. I just realized I let the cat out of the bag.
Really? Well, you know, I have to tell you, though, my family name before I married is Katz, so you're going to let the cats out of the bag. We can have really bad puns the entire day if you'd like.
What are we going to be making, Margaret?
We're going to be making bags. You might wonder what qualifies as a bag, and it's pretty much anything. I have some examples to show you to whet your appetite and to give you an idea of the really broad range. So this is a starting point. This is a little treasure pouch.
That's adorable.
You can wear it around your neck. You can carry precious things in it. And it's one of the beginner projects that I use when I teach beginning knitting. It's a first project that I use. And so if you're wondering if you're going to have the expertise to do this, all you need is really basic knitting skills. If you can cast on and knit, you can do this. This little envelope style bag is one that I love to work with. So I haven't figured out where I'm going to put my samples. I could toss them over my shoulder, but okay. This is just a slightly larger version of the same bag. And it's got a little twisted cord for a strap. It's got a little pattern stitch, but it doesn't need to have a pattern stitch. This is the perfect size for my iPhone.
Ah, perfect.
Not necessarily the most secure because it's horizontal, but you could always make a vertical one and not worry about your iPhone falling out of it. So a phone bag. And then this is just a slightly larger version of the same construction. It's a little purse with a fancy strap that I can teach you to make. And again, it's just an envelope bag. It's adjustable. In case it's full, you can fasten it on the top button.
Clever.
And this is a good size to carry a little notebook, your wallet, some pens, whatever else you happen to need. And of these, because of course I designed a lot of these things before I even started doing Shave 'em to Save 'em, 2 out of these 3 are wool, and you can make any bag out of wool. So it's not a question of finding the right material. All the Shave 'em to Save 'em breeds will work, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So practical bags that you can use for various purposes. A water bottle bag, which has a drawstring that goes up into a corded strap, so you can carry it, and you can make it whatever size you want to fit whatever size water bottle you happen to have. I guess I don't really have to put it back into its bag on the air. Funny how much harder it is to do that when people are watching. And then another use for knitted bags, and it's very funny because just the other day, a friend of mine posted on Facebook a picture of a project she was working on, and it was a knitted gift bag, just a little bag that you can put a gift in to give to people. So you could make a little bag that could serve as a purse, or it could serve as a gift bag with a drawstring. And then, of course, it can be reused so you don't have to throw away gift wrap, and the person can either use it to keep something precious in, or they can fill it with something else and pass it on to someone else.
Super cute.
Then we get into going from the practical ones to the whimsical bags. So gosh, it's been 25 years, almost 25 years since I designed my fish bags. These were so much fun to do. So I have a little fish.
That's adorable.
And this is made of wool. And these little round things are plastic paillettes that I ran across. I'm not holding it up high enough. Plastic paillettes that I added as I was knitting. So I don't have to plan ahead. I could just decide where to put them on. And I'll be happy if anybody's interested in doing that kind of thing. I'll be happy to do a little tutorial on how you add beads and paillettes as you go. And one of the questions that came up when we were discussing plans for this was, are you allowed to embellish with or use for straps or closures things that are not Shave 'em to Save 'em breed wools? So Cindra, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So since we've given away what it is that we're making, bags, I'd love to share the title of this challenge with you because we haven't done that yet. So we're calling this the Bodacious Bag Challenge. And as you can see, Margaret's got some pretty bodacious bags there. That fish is fabulous. But yes, there are a couple exceptions to this challenge that have not applied to previous challenges. And one of which is we are allowing up to 10% of your materials to be non-shave 'em to save 'em wool. And that excludes other wools. We still only want you to work with SE2, SE wools, but you can use up to 10% of your materials for a leather strap, magnet closures, buttons like Margaret's blue bag just had, toggles, anything that you can think of that will help you close the bag, help you attach a strap. This is all about being creative. We're really leaving this wide open to make any kind of bag that you want to make. I think Margaret's going to give some guidance on like the bags she's sharing, but you can also go and find a completely different pattern online that you really just absolutely love and have to have, and you can rock that for the challenge as well. And we're talking about knitting because that's Margaret's expertise, but any technique qualifies for this challenge. So if you're a weaver, let's see your woven bags. If you're a felter, give us a felted bag. If you want to crochet a bag, do that. We would love it. I want to see all of these. I'm super excited to see what you guys can turn out for this challenge.
And I'm going to be able to give guidance. Well, good advice for knitted bags. I can give some guidance about how to structure your crocheted bags as well, although I'll have to look things up to be able to tell you how do you make a circle to start the bottom of a bag, for example, because I don't have that memorized. But another option would be something like null binding, which is a sewn technique that people say it looks similar to knitting. Not so much, but it looks like knitting if all the stitches were twisted, but it's a sewn technique that makes it sort of a chained interlock fabric, and it would be great for bags.
Mm-hmm. Do you have more bags?
Excuse me?
I was going to say, do you have more bags to show us?
I do, and I have a question about this one, and it came up when I pulled it out. So this is another fish bag. This is the second one I made. It has sparkly paillettes. It's got nicer fins on it instead of just triangles. But in this case, I took the wool yarn and I held a strand of crochet cotton that had a gold sparkle in it along with it when I knitted it. So the question would be, would that be allowable or not to carry something along as an embellishment?
That is legal. As long as it's basically any embellishment up to, like I said, up to 10% of the total materials of the project is legal, as long as it's not another wool breed that is not SE2 breed.
Okay.
And you can use as few or as many SE2 breeds in this project as you want. So just like all the other challenges we've done, feel free to blend, feel free to alternate, to ply. If you want to start getting creative with combining these breeds, you are more than welcome to do so for this challenge.
I have another embellished bag to show you. This was just a matter of serendipity, but what I wanted to show people is that you don't have to restrict yourself when it comes to getting inspiration from strange places. Flea markets and yard sales are really great. I picked up this costume jewelry necklace at a flea market when I was just happened to be teaching a bag design class. I took my class to the flea market and we bought things that I wasn't sure how I'd use it. But then I ended up, I'm going to see how close I can get this. Here's the chain. It goes all the way around the edge of the front and back. What I ended up doing was taking my knitting needle and picking up stitches in the links of the chain and then working down from that. So the chain is the cast on for this. The wonderful thing is the chain doesn't stretch. So it supports the whole bag and keeps it from stretching out of shape. So you don't necessarily run into something that's really useful like this every time you go to a flea market, but think outside the box and you can find all sorts of things to embellish your bags. And it makes a nice sound too.
That's very clever, Margaret.
So much for the whimsical. How about the practical? So knitting is one of those wonderful, wonderful mediums that will do almost anything. So here I have a market bag. It's got an adjustable strap all you have to do is tie knots. If this is stuffed with, I think 2 shawls and a sweater right now for display purposes, but it will stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. So you can carry home more groceries than you actually want to lift in one bag. And the marvelous thing about it is that a mesh like this is much stronger than the underlying yarn. So disclaimer here, this is actually silk. I happen to have a cone of silk. It may be blended with something else. It might have some wool in it, but I can tell from the smell of the fiber it's silk. And it's a very soft yarn that breaks easily. But when knitted into a mesh like this, you get a strong fabric that you can carry like 20 pounds in it.
Wow.
And finally, one of the things I plan to talk about is fold bags and felted bags. So this was made from scraps left over. You may notice it matches. I hadn't even thought of this. It matches the poster in the background here. That's because the poster is for one of my books, and I made this with yarn that was left over from knitting the samples for the book. Started from the bottom and knit out seamlessly in the round, and then thrown in the washing machine and fold. So I have a fabric that doesn't stretch and that's solid. And then I added leather handles to it. So I'm planning to talk a little bit about how you go about making something like this, as well as how you go about making a bag that is felted without having been knit first, that you just make from loose fiber and felt it together. Mm-hmm. One of the things I think I'd like to make sure everybody understands is that in terms of level of difficulty, your bag can be as easy enough to be a beginner project, or perhaps up to intermediate if you add some fancy shaping or a challenging pattern stitch. But bags are actually pretty simple structures. You basically, you make a shape you want, and if you want a strap or a closure, you add that and it's done. The issues come in when you don't want it to stretch. Knitting stretches. So if you don't want it to stretch, there's some things you can do, and I'll be talking about that in our sessions online. But how do you choose the fiber? Well, I've been going through my list of Shave 'em to Save 'em breeds. There are 24 now because Soe, British style Soe, has been added just recently. And I didn't find a single breed that was not appropriate for making a bag of some sort. Now, I have to say that I'm talking based on hearsay about the hair breeds because I have not actually gotten my hands on any of them, but I hope to remedy that for at least 2 out of the 3 hair breeds, the Barbados Black Belly, St. Croix, and Wiltshire Horn. I hope to remedy that in the next month or so, so I'll have some personal knowledge to share with you. But depending on what you want, you can use any of the breeds. However, if you want a strong, sturdy bag that's going to be durable because it'll be rubbed on the floor or carry groceries, it's a tote bag for your projects, your fiber projects, you're going to want to gravitate towards the stronger breeds. So it's the opposite of what you'd look for if you wanted something to wear against the skin. And those breeds are going to be the long wools and the dual-coated breeds like Caracal and Navajo Churro. And some of the other breeds that just tend to be a little bit thicker and a little bit scratchier if worn against the skin. Doesn't mean you can't use the softer ones. It just means if you're going for durability, choose the stronger ones. And you don't have to worry about how scratchy they are because you're not going to be cuddling up to them the way that you would a sweater or a pair of mittens. The other thing to look at is if you're planning on fulling your bag or felting your bag, and maybe I should talk about that a little bit. What is felting? Well, felting technically is when you take loose fiber and you place it in layers, and then you put it in hot water with soap and scrub it, and you put it in cold water to shock it, and you keep going back and forth between the two, agitating it, and it makes felt instead of just being loose fiber. So it's called felting technically when you start from loose fiber. If you start from a fabric that's been woven or crocheted or knitted and you do the same thing to it, it felts, but technically that's called fulling. So if I talk about a fold bag, this was a fold bag because I knitted it first and then I used the washing machine to felt it or to full it. Usually we don't get that technical and we talk about it all as felting for the most part in the vernacular speech. So if you're going to want to full your bag or felt your bag, you need to make sure you have a breed that will felt. And so you want to avoid the down breeds. You want to avoid South Down and Oxford and Shropshire, or any of the breeds that have down blood in them. I'm trying to think what I ran across. Hog Island, I know from experience that at least some Hog Island wool will not felt, because we tried it at a spinning retreat I went to and it didn't felt. I don't know if that's true of all of them or not. I know anecdotally that that can happen with Jacob. I have a friend who teaches a felting class, and someone wanted to bring their own wool. They insisted they had tested it and it would felt, and what they brought didn't. Subsequently, they went back and they tested samples from all the sheep in their flock, and they discovered that out of their flock, 2 of them would not felt and all the rest would. So Jacob, you might want to test it first. Try to think. I've been doing research the last couple of days on which ones felt well and which ones don't. The long wools generally will felt well, which are also the durable ones. But I did find a note that Lincoln may take longer to felt. You may have to work with it longer to get it to felt down. And let's see, Clun Forest will definitely felt because it's used in commercial felting operations. Now, mind you, I haven't tried it. This is what I've read. And I can't read my handwriting. Oh, Tunis. Tunis may not felt because it has some of the down breeds bloodline in it. I'm planning to update my chart of what you can use the down breed, the shave 'em to save 'em breeds for, and I'm going to add what I found out about felting in them. And the ones that I haven't gotten any information on, I'm going to test if I can get a hold of any of the fibers. So I should be able to share that information with you.
And Margaret, it's probably a good place to throw in that when you're talking about which of these breeds will felt and which won't, you're specifically talking about wet felting and or the fulling.
I am. I'm talking about felting or fulling using water. I actually have very little experience with needle felting. Needle felting, in my experience, is a great way to organize your fiber and to add embellishments to it before you felt it. So if you've created some felt from loose fleece, you can then go back and needle felt a pattern on top of it with contrasting wool, and then you can felt that more afterwards. I don't know that needle felting would hold up all that well for a large bag. That would be an awful lot of punching it with the needle. But if there's anybody in the class or thinking of taking it who has expertise in needle felting, I'd be happy to hear more about it. I haven't got any experience with it, and I haven't had time to investigate it yet.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking about your tote, your fold tote, and thinking, you know, if someone chose to do that in a solid color, cute little embellishments, needle felted on there would be, you know, quite lovely. Yeah.
Or embroidered afterwards.
Absolutely.
And you can embroider with wool.
Yep.
And then full it slightly so it doesn't get detached. I'm sorry to do this, but I have my window open a crack and there's somebody outside who's talking right now. Let me just close it.
Okay.
So my apologies for the interruption.
No worries.
So straps, findings, embellishments, since we're already talking about embellishments, you can embellish with wool. You can add pom-poms and tassels. I like to put tassels on the points of my envelope bags and just let the weight hold them down. For closures, I like to use big beads and buttons. And I'll talk more about that in one of our classes. For straps, the problem with knitting, of course, is that even if it's been felted or fulled, it does have a tendency to stretch. So you either need to plan for that, or you can use a strap that's made of some other material. And found straps are wonderful. Think about how many little tote bags and I don't know, old camera cases, all those things that wear out, but you've got this really nice adjustable strap with hooks on the end. Those make great straps for your bags. All you need is a way to attach them, either a ring made out of something knitted, or a D-ring or an O-ring, a metal one that you can pick up at a fabric store or a hardware store and to sew onto your bag. So I'll be talking a little bit about that in one of the classes, about how you go about attaching these things to the bag so they don't stretch the knitting and they don't just pull off. Are there any things that you can think of, Sindra, that should be included in terms of closures and embellishments? I mean, I don't want to get into too much detail, but
yeah, well, we're definitely going to go down that rabbit hole in the week, during the week that we talk about it. And I am going to share, actually, right now, I'll share it. Margaret, I'll give you a little break of talking and let me share this. It's actually our sign up page. Margaret, tell me if you can see that.
I can.
Okay. So this is the Shave 'em to Save 'em. It's on our website, the rarewool.org website, our Bodacious Bag Challenge. This is the logo both on the Shave 'em to Save 'em website and, excuse me, the image for the Shave 'em to Save 'em Bodacious Bag Challenge Facebook group that is already created and waiting for you to sign up and request to join. Now I'm trying to scroll with this. Here we go. You still seeing it?
I'm still seeing it, but it didn't appear to move from my screen.
So it's not letting me scroll. I think when I leave it too long, it stops cooperating. So instead, I'm going to share it with you by speaking it. Okay, so let's see if we're missing anything. Dates. That's the one thing that we haven't mentioned, Margaret.
That's right.
So this challenge, of course, Margaret is leading this challenge for you, and it will be 3 consecutive Tuesdays in June. It begins Tuesday, June 7th, and these will all be at 2 p.m. Eastern, excuse me, 3 p.m. Eastern. So Tuesday, June 7th, Tuesday, June 14th, and Tuesday, June 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Mm-hmm. And I believe the plan is to record them, so if you can't attend in person, you should be able to watch them later.
Absolutely.
And for us to take questions either before or after the class, which I can address during the next class or I can address online.
You got it. Yep. Of course, we'll take your questions during the class. If it's something that is not knitting related, but you feel like Margaret might be able to help guide you a little bit with it, we ask that you submit that question to me via my email address 24 to 48 hours before each class. And that way we know Margaret has a chance to open her email and take a gander at it and see if it's something she can answer. And then she can address that in the next class. So challenge requirements. Let me go over that for you real quick. Your Bodacious bag must be constructed of 100% rare wool from one or more breeds on the Livestock Conservancy's conservation priority list. And remember, we're up to 24 breeds now that we just added British Soay. Any embellishments may not constitute more than 10% of the total project. Embellishments may include handles, straps, zippers, buckles, buttons, magnets, tassels, toggles. I think that pretty much covers it.
Beads.
Unless you can think of something I didn't.
I think beads.
Beads, of course. Beads, sequins, the little things you have on your fish bags. Yeah. And of course, your fiber must be purchased from an official SE2 fiber provider listed in the online breeders directory or in the paper version of the breeders directory if you have that. The challenge, again, is $20, just like our previous challenges. And you can join. Let me just go ahead and share this real quick. So you can go to the rarewool.org page to join. And the button on the left-hand side that says Bodacious Bags will be your sign-up button. And I do see that there are a couple of comments that have come through, Margaret. Oh, Gabrielle Gordon. Hi, Gabrielle. Thanks for watching. She says, thanks, Margaret, for the great felting information.
You're welcome.
And Megan Detweiler King, thanks for watching, Megan. Hope you're doing well. She says she's a shepherd and fiber provider, Riverton Farm LLC. I usually offer full or half fleeces, Shropshire and Clun Forest. My fleeces are usually between 3.5 to 5 pounds of raw wool. Do you have a recommendation of a pattern for that amount of wool to provide people in the challenge?
How much wool?
3.5 to 5 pounds. That's a lot.
That's going to be more than enough for the largest bag.
Right.
So by the time that it's washed and processed and spun, if it is spun, there will be less weight. I'm not sure what the yield would be, but I'm looking for a pen. I wasn't planning to have to take notes today. Okay, so
patterns. Yeah, I don't know what the loss is.
I don't have patterns to recommend yet. I plan to start making that information available next week. I have some ideas, but I want to get a good range. And of course, the Clun Forest should felt, but the Shropshire should probably not. So that limits your options with the Shropshire, but broadens them with the Clun Forest. And I'll try to make recommendations for bags that encompass a wide range of the amounts of materials. Of course, the teeny tiny bags only take a very small amount of yarn. So think how many thousands of treasure bags you could make out of 3 pounds of yarn.
How many ounces? I meant to ask that earlier, but you were running through the bags and I didn't want to interrupt you. How many ounces do you think that little treasure bag
That
requires?
Little treasure bag? Well, you know, honestly, I don't know. Way less, but there I've got a scale right here. Would you like me to weigh it on air?
Sure.
It weighs. 0.4 ounces.
Oh, okay. Well, this is not a passport project, so technically
which is 8 grams.
Okay, so the 4 ounce minimum does not qualify. I mean, does not apply unless you intend to use this as a project for your passport.
Right.
Yeah. So if you do that, if you decide that you want to make this bag and use it as a passport project, one of your 15, then it does need to be you need to start with a minimum of 4 ounces.
But that was a really good question. And I'm thinking that what I'll do is when I make the list of patterns that, you know, to give people ideas, I'll put it in a spreadsheet and I'll sort it by the amount of fiber required.
That's a great idea.
Can look for a project that matches what they have.
Darlene Ladner, that is a fabulous question. First of all, thank you for watching today. Darlene asks, can you use roving or yarn, or is the challenge limited to raw wool? Any preparation you would like to start with. You can start with raw, you can start with scoured, you can start with yarn, or anything in between. Yep, just like the regular SE2 projects. Thank you for asking that. Megan, I hope that addressed your question as well as we could. She did ask, any other considerations so I can provide the best experience for challengers? I think just being able to share, you know, what you know about that fiber and what you know about the potential loss if you are selling raw, you know, what percentage they'll lose, so that once they do figure out what project they want to make and how much fiber they need, they can then, if they're buying raw from you, they can judge how much they need to buy so that they have enough.
Well, I think that selling the raw wool, really the only yield that she would be able to provide would be an estimate of what will happen when it's scoured.
Right.
Because how it's processed after that really depends on the individual, and you can't predict how much yarn, say, someone is going to end up with. It really depends on how they handle it.
Good. Yeah, just so that was helpful. Okay. If anybody else has any questions about the challenge and you want to shoot it in the comments real quick, Margaret and I can answer that.
Okay. And while we're waiting for that, I have one more thing I was going to tell people so they know what to expect. Great. Which is what we plan to do for each of our sessions. So on June 7th, it's going to be the sort of the getting started session where I'll talk about fiber selection and patterns. And then on June 14th, session number 2, it'll be more about details, pattern stitches, straps, closures, embellishments, plus whatever questions have come up as we get started. And then session number 3, I'm going to focus more on felting and fulling and have a student showcase. So whatever photos and information students have given us on their projects or their planned projects will become part of the discussion during that last session.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And just as a reminder, I know Margaret, you touched on it, but I want to make sure everybody heard it. Even though we are coming to you via Facebook Live for this promo, we're going to do this challenge, the Bodacious Bag Challenge, exactly like we did the sweater challenge. We're going to actually broadcast via Zoom so that anybody who wants to participate and is not a Facebook user can still participate. We will also have that kind of behind the scenes page on our rarewool.org website, where those of you that have signed up for the challenge can log in and find the Zoom links. And then also you'll have the ability to re-watch any of the videos as well. And then all of the documents, any documents that Margaret provides, you'll be able to access those there as well. All right. I don't see any more questions coming in. Anything more that you feel like we need to share about this challenge before we sign off?
There's going to be a Facebook page for the group, a private one, right?
Mm-hmm.
so that you'll be sending people information on how to join that or invitations to join it as they register, correct?
Yep, exactly. So
will there also be a Ravelry group?
There is not a separate Ravelry group. We have a Shave 'em to Save 'em Ravelry group. I start a new thread in Ravelry for each challenge, so that folks who are participating in the challenge can participate, chat with each other about that in the thread. But yes, as you sign up through our website, through the rarewool.org website and that link, once you do that, then you'll get an automatic confirmation email. And that confirmation email has a link to the Facebook group, and it will have a link to the behind the scenes page as well that will have those Zoom links for you.
So now is a good time to start thinking about what kind of a bag you need, or perhaps what kind of a bag you want to try. And the one piece of advice I would give you is you can always make a little small bag as a sample with the same details you want in a larger bag. And it's a good way to work out any kinks or to reassure yourself you can do it. As Sindra already knows from the challenges that I have led before this, I like to challenge myself during the course of it. So one of the challenges I'll be setting myself is to do some wet felting. I have some caracal and I have some Navajo churro. And the caracal especially is a little bit too strong to be comfortably used in a garment. So I'm going to see if I can felt myself a bag from that and embellish it with tufts of this beautiful caracal with locks of it around the top somehow. We'll see how well that goes. This is way outside my comfort zone, so I'll be learning a lot right along with you.
I can see that in my mind. That's going to be awesome.
I hope so.
We did have one more question come in from Gabrielle Gordon. She says, have you made bags from felted wool sheets, like the sheets that come from the fiber mill?
I have not. I have actually used felted wool sheets as a base for further wet felting to add decorative items to it, actually. And I've done it with silk. As well as with wool. Of course, that would end up being a sewing project, which is just fine. One of the things I've been considering in my own mind is felting sheets of my caracal and then sewing it together to make a bag, because I'm not sure how hard it will be to manage. So that, of course, is an option. If you can, just like you can make pieces of a garment from knitting or from weaving and sew it together, you can make pieces of a bag from felt. But of course, you'd have to find felt that's from Shave 'em to Save 'em breeds. And I don't know, Sindra, are any of the Shave 'em to Save 'em providers, are they having mills create felt from their wool? I've never searched for it, so I don't know.
Yes, there are. If you search in the online fiber directory, you can actually search by the breed and the product felt. And there are some in there. I know there are also some shepherds who have the equipment and are felting themselves, felting sheets and selling that. So yeah, definitely search it out. I think that that you might be able to find some. Good question, Gabrielle. Thank you.
Yes, that was an excellent question.
All right. I think that wraps it up. I'm really excited about this. I want to make one. I have no idea yet what I'm going to do. I know I'm not going to take on anything too large. I keep thinking about making something on a little lap loom and trying as my first weaving project and figuring out whether I make two pieces and sew it together and then maybe line it. I don't know. I have no idea.
Based on my very, very limited experience with weaving, which I have woven a scarf, one of the things that you might want to do is to pick a wool that is feltable as opposed to one that resists felting, and make a plan to full your fabric after you've woven it to tighten it up and help keep it from stretching when you go to use the bag.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Thank you. I guess the other thing that I'd like to tell everybody is that I am going to be traveling off and on between now and when we start, especially the last 2 weeks before the challenge starts. But I will be trying to pay attention in the Facebook page and to my email and answer questions that you may have about sourcing your materials and picking patterns. But I may not be as readily available because part of the time I'll be on a sailboat and there isn't any internet service. So I will do my best, but please be patient if it takes me a few days to get back to you.
That sounds like a good time, Margaret. Are you teaching again?
No, this is just a family getaway, but I will have knitting with me or something.
Something nice. Allison Green, thanks for chiming in. Thanks for watching today. She says, this sounds like fun. I have so many ideas and small projects that allow for so much variety. I'm thinking of a rigid heddle project too. Great. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what everybody does. Sky's the limit, you guys. All right, Margaret, thank you so much. I just want to do one quick thing that I should have done in Margaret's introduction.
Oh.
If you're curious, if you have not participated in a challenge that Margaret has led for us before, please go find her website. She has several. She's got a Facebook page. She is the author of multiple knitting books. They are excellent. maggiesrags.com. Go check her out if you haven't been there already. And we will see you all on June 7th. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can reach me at ckirscher@livestockconservancy.org. All right, everybody, have a great afternoon. We'll see you soon.
Most importantly, have fun.
Yes, play. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.